Hey, job seekers. So, how can recruiters like me tell that your resume actually comes from ChatGPT? Well, if you haven't yet heard about ChatGPT, it is the artificial intelligence software that you can use to just type in, create me a resume for an HR manager, and it will generate out a resume. Now, it does lots of other things, and there are good uses for ChatGPT, but there is a lot of people that are saying no need to create a resume anymore. Just go in there and have it create a resume for you. Please do not do that because I can tell. Let's go over some of the things that if you've already done this with your resume, how you can maybe correct some of these things so they don't show for me and other recruiters. So the first thing about ChatGPT is the format. The formats are very, very similar. Now, a good resume format, they're all going to start looking the same, but there's two things that you always see in the ChatGPT resumes, and one of them is really a pointer that it came from there. The first thing is all of them have an objective statement. And in fact, every single one, and we ran through tons and tons through the Chat GPT system to get it to create a bunch of resumes for us so we could look and see. And 100% of them had an objective section. Now, an objective section can be beneficial depending on how you use it. If you're not sure how to create that objective or summary section, go watch our video on that and we'll show you how to do it right. Chat GPT's is just at a 40,000 foot level, not very strong. But the worst part of the format that always shows that will show me that this is not a current resume format. And at the very bottom of every resume it generates, it says references upon request or a similar thing to that, talking about references. Well, for those of you in the job search world nowadays, you know references are almost never put on a resume like that anymore, the request for it. In fact, many companies don't even ask for them at that point in time. If they want to check references, they have a background check company that does that. It's very rare, unless they're a very small company, that companies do that themselves anymore. We just don't put it on resumes. It's a waste of good space. So if you created a resume with ChatGPT, take that off there because it's a killer sign that you're using a behind the times resume format. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other things that key me as a recruiter that shows me that this resume came from ChatGPT. And I want to talk about two sets of tests specifically we did. So I'm an HR person and my husband is actually a mechanical engineer. So I said, all right, let me have it run and generate a bunch of resumes for both. So I asked it 10 times, separate instances saying, write me a resume for an HR manager. And then I did 10 times, write me a resume for a mechanical engineer. Well, the good thing is ChatGPT does make the data in each one of them a little bit different. Or maybe not make the data different, it rewords the same data different. It pretty much has the same data, but there were some key things that came up on each and every time when I did this. So let's focus first on the ones that we did for the HR manager. On 100% of the resumes, that means all 10 out of 10 that we asked ChatGPT to create for an HR manager, 100% of them, the objective starts with the word highly. Now, the words change a little bit from there, but not a whole lot. 100% of them look at highly. Now, you may say, Melanie, you're looking at one word. But let me put it to you this way. When I'm in and I've had 10 people reply to me on a job posting that I've done, and I go in and I start looking at their resume, if everyone starts with the exact same word, it raises flags, right? It starts to say, wait a minute, something's not right here. Do you notice it with as many resumes as you look at? You bet you absolutely do. So you can't have a system doing things like that where it is identical. Now, it wasn't just that. When we went into the first bullet underneath on the HR resume, 70% of them, so 7 out of 10, started with the word develop. The first bullet that came up. And the other 30%, it was on the second bullet. Again, it's, words like that come up again and again. At the repetition starts getting into the recruiter and they're like, wait a minute, something's wrong with this resume. And if I think you created a resume 100% with ChatGPT, am I starting to question everything else that you've put on your resume? Is this really the system telling me what you think I want to hear? Or is this your actual skills and experience and all the wonderful things that you've done in your career? So let's switch now to the mechanical engineer position. Again, doing the exact same thing, write me a resume, mechanical engineer, ran it through 10 times to see what it came up with. On this one, 100% of them had the bullet assisted in the design and development of blah. 100%. Every single one we did had that as the primary bullet when it got to the experience section for the mechanical engineer. And likewise, when we looked at those, 100% of them had a bullet that said led a team of engineers. That's two that were 100% exactly the same on the resumes of the 10 that we ran separately through ChatGPT. Were there other differences on the resume? Yeah, but you can have at the top those bullets being that noticeable and being that way. It's gonna get flagged. Somebody is gonna notice it. And there was also on the mechanical engineer, 100% of them also had the bullet results driven or results motivated in the summary. I'm sorry, not the bullet. It was part of the summary. It was either results driven or results motivated in there. And so again, we start seeing it again and again. Now, you could say that, a mechanical engineer resume is a lot more technical in its own way from the HR resume, which is more, looking at the HR laws and such. So I did look at a bunch of other resumes for positions like geologists and IT roles and things that were more technical. It seems that the more technical the role is, the more ChatGPT sends these words out that are identical on every resume it generates. And that for you job seekers is a problem. Now, again, we've done a lot of talking about the downsides of ChatGPT. There are some great ways you can use it for your job search. And that is actually our next video that we have coming out, where how utilizing ChatGPT can make your resume 1,000 times better. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that now. Go ahead and follow us out on LinkedIn. We're on them all, Twitter, Threads, all Instagram. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.